Hi guys, Taylor here from The Leather Guy, and I'm just going to do a very quick tutorial on how to make a leather dog collar. So you are going to need a hole punch, rotary or otherwise works, a utility knife. We're going to use some rivets here. We're also going to have a D-ring attached to this. This is our dog collar buckle. And we're using a 3/4 inch wide oil tan strap today. So we're going to weave it through our 3/4 inch buckle first and decide how much leather we need to pull through to fit all of our hardware. So you're going to be doubling it up on that back side there to fit both our rivets as well as our D-ring. So you'll want to slip the D-ring on there really quickly just to get a good idea of where you want it placed, what kind of distance you want from the buckle. And that's going to inform your decision a bit more of how much of the leather you're going to pull through. So I'm going to place a couple of the rivets here. Just get a solid visual. I'm pretty happy with where those are, so I'm actually going to flip them over and just make a little demarcation using the rivet. Then once those are on there, I'm going to remove the hardware and just real quick take a Sharpie and make those demarcations a little bit more noticeable. They can be easy to lose when you're not staring right at them anymore, so using a pen, marker, pencil, whatever you want to do to mark them, make them a little bit more noticeable. So I'm taking the rivet studs and kind of setting them into the rotary punch to figure out what size is the best size to use for this. We don't want it to be too big, too small, just make it more difficult to put it through. So since I've found the one that works best with this rivet post, I'm just gonna pop through here real quick, give it a little twist just to make sure that it pulls the leather out completely. As you can see, I didn't punch through totally there, so we had to take another stab at it. So we're gonna punch both of those holes. And once those are punched, we're actually going to put it right back through the buckle again. Fold it back down to the same length. I believe that was about 2 inches I pulled it through. Laying it down, I'm going to grab the marker again, and on the back side, mark where our next punches are going to go so they line up perfectly. This way our rivets are going to go straight through both pieces of leather, no angle, no weirdness. We already have it set for the same size, so we're just going to use that again and punch out both of our holes here. Now we can lay that back out, pull the ding ring back up over the leather. Make sure that you have the flat side to the back side. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of awkward for your pup and where you attach your leash. So yeah, now that the D-ring is centered between the two rivet holes, you're just going to place your rivets through. So you put that post through and then just snap the cap onto it. Same thing back here. Sorry, my hands are a little fumbly, but we'll get it in there. There we go. Same thing, get that post through both pieces. Put that snap on, and now you've got a fairly good idea of where everything's going to lay. If you are happy with that, go ahead and set your rivets. It just takes a few light taps. I am not using a rivet setter in this case because I am not too worried about the rivets flattening out a little bit. I actually kind of like the look that it goes here. If you want them to keep kind of that bubble top, you definitely want to use a rivet setter in this instance. But a few good smacks on a steady surface like the granite that I have there is going to set the rivets perfectly. Give them a couple quick pulls, just make sure that they're set, because bear in mind if you are using this collar to hold your pupper, if he strains against it while you have the leash on or while you're holding onto the collar, you definitely want to make sure those rivets are set really steady. So I've already cut this. I measured it at the point that I knew was going to fit the dog that it is going to. Before you start punching your holes, you may want to take it at this point with just the buckle and rivets and wrap it around the dog's neck, or even use an old collar to decide, you know, how long or where your holes need to be. Here I am just setting them at 1/2 inch apart down the center, because this is being made for a pretty small dog, so he doesn't need a lot of spacing. If this was being made for a much larger dog, you might even want to go up to 1 inch in between the spaces. Once those are set, I'm happy with their location. I'm going to figure out which punch works best with the post on the buckle, set it to that, and then we're going to go ahead and punch out our series of holes so that we can actually buckle this collar shut. I'm taking my time here because I just want to make sure that everything is centered and right on that center line that I drew along. If they're slightly off center, it just can look a little wonky. It's not a big deal. I've certainly done a couple that have a little bit of a wonk to them. If you're not that concerned about it being perfect, you can go a little faster, but I did want them to be as inline as possible. So go ahead and take your time when doing stuff like that. And so here you go. You've pretty much got a finished collar. It's ready for a dog. However, if you want to do a couple other things to give it a more finished look, we can hop into this right here. So what I'm doing here is using a rounded a rounded punch. You can certainly do this. If you took a quarter and put it on the end there and used your utility knife, you'd be able to cut the exact same thing. I just used that punch to save a little time, but we've got a nice rounded edge now. Since this is a softer oil tan, burnishing it isn't quite going to work to give it those finished edges, but you can still apply a coat or two of gum tragacanth to give it a really nice smooth finish. It really made all the difference in the world. You can just put it right on your fingertip, apply it to the length of the collar just like I am here, and it takes away all those little flyaway fuzzies from the nap on the back of the leather, and it gives it just a slight sheen that really gives it a nice finish. If you really want more of like that burnished look, you could certainly use something like an edge coat, but here gum works great for it. And then here is our handsome little shop dog Smokey showing off his brand new collar. So that's all it takes, guys. It's a pretty simple craft, great for beginners, great for kids. Thanks so much for popping in with us today, and we'll see you next time.